Good evening, everybody. My new topic for today is weathering and soil formation. So, the term weathering and soil formation are both interconnected because weathering makes the soil and the soil is also too formed by weathering. So, let us learn about the weathering and its components. So, factors that affect soil formation. So there are mainly five factors that affect soil formation. First is parent material. Parent material is the starting material from which the soil develops. It can be rock formed in a place or remnants of rocks that was moved by wind, water, ice or even gravity. Second one is climate. Third one is living organism. Fourth is topography. And fifth is time. So time determines the thickness of soil and how fertile a soil is. Then comes the parent material. As I told you, the parent material is the starting material from which the soil develops, and it can be rocks. They are usually rocks. So they can be rocks formed in a place or the remnants of rocks which were moved by wind, water, ice or even gravity. Now components of earth. So earth is composed of three components. First is the lithosphere. Lithosphere is the sphere of rocks, and atmosphere. Atmosphere is the sphere of air, and the hydrosphere. Hydrosphere is the sphere of water. Apart from these three components, there is one more component called biosphere, but that is not a part of the components of earth. So biosphere is also crucial in earth because it contains all forms of life. Every living creature present in the earth lives in biosphere, and it is also a zone where all the three components of earth meet, interact and overlap. Then comes changes on earth. So our earth is continuously changing time to time. So why these changes happen? The changes happens because of the internal force and external force in the earth. So the internal force. Internal force includes volcanism and earthquakes. So volcanism and earthquakes form the rock particles and also forms the solid materials of lithosphere. Then external force. So wind and running water are the examples of external force which smoothen the landforms, for example mountains, plains and plateaus. Then rocks. So the rocks are very crucial part of weathering because the 90% of soil is made up of rocks only. That's why we should learn about rocks. We should be aware of the rocks. So rocks are aggregates of minerals. They contain higher amount of minerals in them, and they doesn't have a definite chemical composition like minerals. But the minerals have the definite chemical composition, but the rock doesn't. And some of the rocks contains metals in large quantity, which are called as ores. So there are three different types of rocks, which are sedimentary, igneous and metamorphic. First is sedimentary rocks. So sedimentary rocks are formed by sediments accumulated over a long period of time in seas, ocean, lakes and other water bodies. So when they accumulate in one place, the rain wets them and it thus forms rocks, and also due to some heat that is exerted on the rocks, they form the sedimentary rocks. Then second is igneous rocks. Igneous rocks has a word called igneous, means fire. So Igneous rocks are formed by solidification of molten magma that comes from the volcanoes. So, the molten magma, when the molten magma is solidified inside the earth or in the surface of earth, the igneous rocks are formed. So, according to their formation, the igneous rocks are of two types. First is intrusive, second one is extrusive. So, intrusive igneous rocks are the rocks which are formed under great pressure at the depth of the earth. Means they are usually formed in the earth's crust. And then the second one is extrusive igneous rocks. So the extrusive igneous rocks are just opposite of intrusive. They are formed at the surface of earth when the molten magma cools down. Then the third is metamorphic rocks. So the metamorphic rocks are formed by combination of sedimentary and igneous rocks. When the sedimentary and igneous rocks are subjected to extreme temperature and pressure, they form metamorphic rocks. Then, importance of rocks. There are many importance of rocks in the life. First is the soil formation, as we know, how because the soil is made up of rocks, and the second is building material. So soil is used to make buildings and many other monuments. For example, Taj Mahal and Red Fort are made up of some precious rocks, and they're also used to extract precious stones from the rocks so that they increases the economic production. Then they are also used as raw material in many manufacturing industries. And now we are learning about soil formation. So have you ever wondered how the soil is formed? The single process is weathering. So weathering dissolves and disintegrates rocks, and thus it forms the soil. And the term weathering is a static process. So there are usually three types of weathering. First is mechanical, second chemical, and third biological. So first if we talk about the mechanical weathering, the mechanical weathering is a type of weathering which includes disintegration and decomposition of rocks by elements of weather. So there are many elements of weather like wind, water, air. So when the rocks are moved or broken down by the elements of weather, so we will say that it is mechanical weathering. Second, chemical weathering. Chemical weathering is formed by disintegration and decomposition of rocks by chemical processes. And the agents of chemical weathering are salts, acid, plants, and animals. Third is biological weathering. So biological weathering includes the decomposition of organic matters in the rocks. So, for example, the burrowing animals. Burrowing animals means they form their homes inside the earth, and thus they break down the rocks. So we will say that it is a kind of biological weathering. And also some of the plants some of the plants grow in the rocks to find in search of water and nourishment and for the plant growth. So for these three things, the plants grow their roots in the rocks, which weakens and disintegrate the rocks. That is also an example of biological weathering. And they are also formed by biotic factors. So biotic factors are plants and the other components of plants like leaves, stems, roots, etc. Then denudation. Denudation is a crucial part of weathering. So because why it is a very crucial part? Because it disintegrates and decomposes the rocks. And also it breaks down the large masses of rocks to do the process of weathering rapidly. We see that there are many benefits of weathering, but there are some of the destructive effects of weathering present over here. So the constructive effects are the soil formation, they form soil, and also they give rise to new erodible materials which can be eroded easily by the agents of weathering like wind and water. Now the third is they provide building material. So there are many rocks they provide. They form new rocks all as well as new rocks. So they also give rise to many building material, for example, limestone. Then there are also the destructive effects. So the first is soil erosion. So the soil erosion is also sometimes happen by the weathering, especially by mechanical weathering. And the second is landslides. Landslides may also occur due to the weathering. And the third is they dissolve soluble components of soil. There are many of the soluble components of soil. So the weathering wears it away or it is moved by the wind. So that makes the soil infertile. And we don't want the infertile soil with the low agricultural production. Now, the factors that affect soil. So, the formation and development of soil depends upon the five things. First is nature of rocks. There are two nature of rocks. First is the soft rock and the second is hard rock. The soft rocks are more likely to erode by the weathering, agents of weathering like wind, water, etc. And the second is structure of rocks. The rocks are arranged in two types of structure. First is vertically arranged layers of rock. Second is horizontally arranged layers of rocks. So the vertically arranged layers of rocks are most likely to erode and disintegrate because the water and the wind enters by the cracks and crevices. Third is frost. So when the water enters in rocks through cracks and crevices, what the happen during the day the water enters in the rock and during the night when the temperature cools down, ice thaws means no ice freezes and forms the water freezes and forms the ice. And then again during the day, the ice thaws means the ice melts and they go more deeply into the rock. And thus they disintegrate the rock because the repetition of thawing and freezing makes the rock to break easily. Then the fourth one is wind. Because of the wind, some of the weak rocks disintegrate and they get eroded by the water. Then extremes of temperature. During the day, when there is extreme heat coming from the sun, the rock expands because everything which are subjected to heat, they start expanding. So that's why rocks also expand and during the night it contracts. And this repetition of expanding and contracting of rocks makes the rocks to disintegrate. So this is all we learned about the weathering and soil formation. Hope you liked it. Thank you.